which is generally a Democrat state. I think we're probably leading in New Jersey. We had a rally, over 100,000 people this weekend. A lot of the mainstream media didn't want to say how many people, they didn't want to cover. But in fact, I don't think anybody did. I hear the crowd was not shown by the mainstream media, which is what they tell me, but that's par for the course.
It's the same lines from his run in 2016. Isn't McIntyre listening to and hanging on to the same repetitive and manipulative talking points for damn near a decade? Overinflating his crowd size is what got his first press secretary, Sean Spicer, clowned on like his first day on the job.
Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. This was also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph showing that a misrepresentation of the crowd in the original tweet in their paper, which showed the full extent of the support, depth, and crowd and intensity that existed. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong.
Okay, Sean, calm down. This guy was given a directive to go out and tell them off, but since it turned into SNL fodder, Trump figured he'd do the childish work himself ever since. The problem is that enough people engage with him and give their own assessment of his crowds, as if anyone can be convinced of anything over the biggest nonsense argument ever.
Frank Sinatra and so many more. New Jersey is where General George Washington led the army to victory at Trenton and Princeton. And this is where generations of New Jersey patriots helped build this country into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, it's lost its willpower, and it's lost its strength. We are a nation that has quite simply lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. A tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she sighed.
Sounds like a bunch of people were leaving when the portion of the speech where Trump tells MAGA bedtime stories began. For real, it sounded like it was a kindergarten teacher reading an illustrated book for the boys and girls to fall asleep to on the big carpet. Anyways, outside of getting his minions to hold on to one more thing to worship him over, the purpose of this crowd-size obsession has always been to use whatever numbers he comes up with to convince the slightly less gullible red hats to think that there's no way he can lose, based off of a rally where red meat is tossed out for them to rage over. They're convinced that a rally directly relates to voting numbers somehow. So he used it again for the lack of a crowd size outside of his criminal trial.
Step in because what this judge is getting away with is disgraceful, including the fact that we have thousands of people, we had 100,000 people in New Jersey. They would like to show their support. It's like an armed camp outside. You can't get one person within 3 blocks of this courthouse.
This isn't even the first time that he's lied about his supporters not being able to show up outside the court to, I guess, watch the building stand there while he's inside farting and sleeping. He needs some new material because it was debunked then too.
We're expecting a huge crowd of Trump supporters.
Huge crowd.
There's one.
Well, do you want to count the dog? Do you want to count the dog?
If you count the dog, there's
up,
2.
2.
And then I see one other guy here. Is your dog a Trump supporter?
No.
No?
He's a dog.
Just a dog?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay,
2.
so
Officially
2.
just 2.
2.
2 Trump supporters here.
But that's how you get in and you find out the real information. You have
Yes.
to talk to the people on the ground.
Okay, so we have one Trump supporter. The dog does not count, as we said before. And then it looks like we have one other Trump supporter, but maybe some of the people are hidden here or something like that. Excuse me, sir. Sir, Are you a Trump supporter? No? You're not a Trump
No.
supporter? Okay.
Okay. All right. So
we still have one.
That not another Trump supporter, but here this could be a Trump supporter.
Are you a Trump supporter, sir?
Yes.
Okay. How many Trump supporters would you say are here today?
Two.
Two?
A whole two.
Officially two?
Two.
Those two must have stealthily slid past the armed camp that's keeping the other 99,998 other people away. It's sad because he doesn't even really try to come up with lines that make some effort to debunk. He just recites the classics that have been laughed at already and moves on to the next. And the eager potential VP candidates know that their role when Trump boasts about anything is to submit their audition tape, giving the same tired lines with their own twist.
Here, the objective is simple: to keep President Trump off the campaign trail so that he won't have rallies in New Jersey with 100,000 people there. If your star witness lied under oath, if your star witness spent years in jail, that is not a case. The bottom line is this: in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. They're not trying to prove his guilt. They're trying to make sure that he does not win on November 5th. This two-tier justice system bill continues to frustrate Americans, and it's another reason why we see President Trump rising in the polls, because Americans, at our heart, we believe in fairness. This is a sham. This is not a courtroom. This is a stage to find the president guilty, not in the court, but in the eyes of the public, so that he does not win on November 5th.